Okay, so imagine for a second you're trying to explain your company's strategy.
Hmm.
On one hand, you are pouring resources into this ultra premium, cutting edge folding phone. We're talking something that could cost, what, $2,500?
Easily. Maybe more.
And then on the other hand, you're also engineering a brand new entry-level laptop, something designed to hit a price point as low as $599.
Right.
How do you even begin to reconcile those two completely opposite ideas?
Well, you can't. Not easily. It looks like two totally different companies running completely opposing playbooks. And, that is the core tension of Apple's rumored 2026 roadmap.
So this deep dive, it's not really about the next chip upgrade, is it?
No, not at all. This is about a total high-stakes strategic pivot. We've gathered all the sources, the leaked roadmaps, analyst predictions.
And we're looking at everything. The big AI overhaul, this really aggressive push into budget computers, and then these risky new hardware categories. Foldables, screenless smart glasses. It's a lot.
It is. But the central theme, and really the key thing for you to take away from this, is that 2026 is a transition year. It's Apple trying to solve its core growth problem.
And the success or failure of all this new hardware, it all comes down to the software.
It all rests on the software, specifically on a completely revamped AI. They're not just selling gadgets anymore. They're selling infrastructure.
Okay, let's unpack that. The biggest thing coming in 2026 isn't hardware at all, it's the intelligence. And the first really surprising thing is that Apple had to basically hire a competitor to get it done.
Right. The sources are pretty clear that this revamped Siri, what they're calling Apple Intelligence, was meant to come out much earlier.
But they delayed it.
They delayed it because they realized their original in-house plan, and this is a quote, just wasn't good enough.
So what's the difference? What was the old Siri versus the new one?
Well, the old Siri was, I think the outline put it perfectly. It was a receptionist with a Rolodex.
Huh.
You ask it to set a timer, it sets a timer. It was reactive, it wasn't proactive, and it definitely had no idea what was going on around it.
Just a simple command processor.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But this new LLM-based Siri, which we think is dropping in spring 2026, probably with an iOS 26.4 update, it's being built to be a true executive assistant.
An assistant that doesn't just hear you, but sees what you're doing.
It sees and it integrates.
Yeah.
It has what the sources are calling on-screen awareness and personal context.
Okay, so what does that actually mean, like in practice?
It means the AI is no longer blind. So say you get a text message with an address and a date for a meeting. The old way, you'd have to copy the address, go to contacts, paste it in.
Like the usual dance.
With this, you just say, Siri, add this address to John's contact card. And it just,
Yeah.
it knows. It sees the data on the screen and knows what to do with it.
But the real leap is these multi-step queries, right? We're talking about asking it something like,
Something really complex, like find me the photo of the dog that Eric sent me last week when we were talking about recipes.
wow. Okay, so that would mean it has to scan messages, files, photos, emails.
Your entire device history, and then connect all those different bits of information together. That is a massive, massive processing job.
Which I guess brings us to the elephant in the room. To get this done quickly, they had to make a pretty strategic partnership.
A very strategic partnership. They're cooperating with Google. The new Siri will actually incorporate a Google Gemini model, one that's been specifically customized for Apple.
Okay, hold on. That's a huge deal. For a company that has built its entire brand on being the champion of privacy, isn't using Google's AI a massive risk, philosophically and strategically?
It's the core risk. And Apple is basically betting its entire infrastructure strategy on the privacy firewall they've built to contain it.
The Private Cloud Compute System, PCC.
Exactly. This is the key. Unlike, almost every other cloud AI system out there, Google's, Microsoft's, Apple's PCC servers are designed so that your data, your queries, they never leave Apple's direct control.
So even though it's a Gemini model, the data isn't being shared back with Google.
Never shared with Google.
Yeah.
It's run on Apple hardware, under Apple rules. It maintains that data sovereignty for the user. And honestly, that technical promise is probably the most important piece of their whole 2026 strategy.
And when you look under the hood, I mean, the tech they're using to make this all fast and private is It's pretty stunning.
It is. They're pairing this small, like 3 billion parameter model that lives right on your device.
Okay, and that's optimized with something called 2-bit quantization.
Let me just quickly break that down for you. Think of quantization as an extreme form of compression. You're taking this huge detailed model and squeezing it down so it can run really, really fast on your phone's hardware without draining the battery.
Got it. So you have the small, fast model on the device, and then for the bigger stuff.
It goes to that private cloud compute server. And that's where they're using this novel architecture, this parallel track mixture of experts.
That is a mouthful.
Great.
What does PTMOE mean for me, the user?
It just means speed and capability. So instead of one giant, slow brain trying to solve your problem.
Like finding the dog photo in the recipe.
Right. The PTMOE architecture splits that task into smaller jobs for dedicated experts that all run at the same time. It's just way, way more efficient. And that is the intelligence that everything else is built on.
So if that's the foundation, let's talk about the hardware they're using to get that foundation into as many hands as possible, because this is where it gets really interesting. Apple seems to be building a Trojan horse, a $599 laptop designed to just completely destroy the budget competition.
For years, Apple has just ignored that market. They've totally ceded it to Chromebooks, to cheap Windows PCs, especially in education.
Yeah, the student market.
And this new budget-friendly MacBook, priced somewhere between $600 and $700.
Yeah.
This is them declaring war on that whole segment.
But the genius of it, or maybe the risk, is the chip swap. They're not using an M-series chip.
No. The big cost saving comes from using the A18 Pro chip.
The one from the iPhone.
The flagship processor from the iPhone 16 Pro models, yeah.
Doesn't putting an iPhone chip in a Mac risk undercutting the whole M-series brand?
Oh.
Making it seem less premium?
It definitely risks confusing people, for sure. But the sources are making a really strong case for the performance.
You think it'll be fast enough?
For the target audience, absolutely. The A18 Pro is still expected to be incredibly capable, faster than the original M1 MacBooks in a lot of key areas.
Oh, wow.
So for a student or a family that just wants into the Apple ecosystem without spending a fortune, performance that's on par with a 4-year-old high-end laptop is a huge win. They don't need to render 4K video.
They just need the gateway drug into the ecosystem.
Precisely. And the timing here is just brilliant. The whole PC industry is struggling with this global RAM shortage right now, so prices are going up.
But not for Apple.
Well, because Apple buys memory in such huge volumes and they integrate it right on the chip, they get this massive pricing advantage. They can afford a thinner margin to just suck up millions of new customers.
And that budget strategy, it's not just laptops. It extends right into the home.
Right. We're seeing this centralized smart home strategy launching around the same time, March or April 2026, a whole ecosystem overhaul.
With this new command center device at the middle of it, the Home Hub or HomePad.
Yeah, around $350. It's basically a 7-inch touchscreen running a new Home OS. It comes in a countertop version with a speaker or one you can mount on the wall.
So it's a direct shot at the Amazon Echo Show and the Google Nest Hub.
A direct shot. And again, the competitive angle is privacy. You know, Amazon and Google have been under fire for how they use smart home data.
So Apple's reputation for security becomes the main selling point for a device that's meant to see and hear everything in your house.
Exactly. And you can't forget the new Apple TV 4K. It's getting a huge performance boost.
The A17 Pro chip, 8 gigs of RAM.
That kind of power basically turns it from just a streaming box into a pretty capable gaming console. We're talking hardware-level ray tracing, console-quality games.
And what's the glue holding all these home devices together? There's a new component, right? The N1 networking chip.
That's the one. This chip is all about reliability. It supports the latest standards, Wi-Fi 7, Bluetooth 6, Thread.
Which, in simple terms, just means?
It means everything just works. Seamless, low-latency communication across your whole house. If the Home Hub is the brain, the N1 chip is the nervous system, making sure all those AI home tasks are instant.
Okay, so we've got the AI foundation, and we have the budget hardware. Spread that foundation everywhere. Now, let's pivot to the really high-end, high-risk stuff. Because what does all this mean for the future of the interface? Apple is basically betting on 2 complete extremes at the same time. A giant folding screen and no screen at all.
Let's start with the screenless one. The rumored AI smart glasses. Possibly late 2026, maybe early 2027.
And the concept is AirPods for your eyes.
Right. The focus is on them being fashionable, subtle.
Yeah.
And the big thing is There's no integrated display.
That's the radical bet. The entire user interface depends completely on that new contextual Siri we talked about.
Completely. The camera is for what they're calling visual intelligence. So it
Yeah.
can identify objects, translate a sign, answer a question based on what you're looking at. What kind of tree is that? Becomes a real question you can ask your glasses.
This is Apple playing catch-up, isn't it? I mean, Meta has had huge success with the
A
Ray-Bans.
huge success. And the battleground here isn't the hardware, it's the AI brain. It's Siri versus Meta AI versus Google Gemini.
Yeah.
There's a catch.
It's the cap.
The sources say they're not standalone. They still need an iPhone nearby for the heavy lifting for a lot of the features. That could really limit their appeal.
Okay, so from no screen, we go to the other extreme. The foldable, the iPhone Fold.
The very high-stakes foldable.
Yeah.
Expected September 2026. And the price? Yeah, somewhere between $2,000 and $2,500.
And the engineering priority here is just, it's mind-boggling. Extreme thinness.
Right. They want it to be the thinnest foldable on the market. Rumor is just 4.5 millimeters when it's unfolded.
That sounds like science fiction. My first thought is, where does the battery even go?
It sounds impossible. But the sources are pointing to some really advanced materials, like liquid metal hinges for durability and low weight, and a new display tech called color filter on encapsulation.
COE. And that's to get rid of the crease.
To virtually eliminate the display crease, yeah. But that obsession with thinness, it forces some really tough trade-offs.
Like what?
Well, the device might not have Face ID. To save space, they'd use a simpler side-mounted Touch ID sensor instead. And, crucially, the main inside screen isn't expected to have the dynamic island. They're choosing minimalist engineering over standard iPhone features.
And the form factor itself is pretty unique. When it's closed, it's described as short and stubby, kind of like the old iPhone 13 mini.
But then you open it up, and you get this huge 7.6 or 7.9-inch display. It's basically an iPad mini that fits in your pocket. It's a statement piece.
Yeah.
An engineering showcase.
And we should probably just briefly touch on the Apple Watch Ultra update for 2026.
Right, the Ultra 4. The design probably won't change much, but two rumored features are major. First, probably adding Touch ID into the side button for better security.
But the real holy grail, the thing people have been waiting for, is the non-invasive glucose sensor.
That's the one. If they can crack that, and this is something that requires decades of R&D, what are the implications?
It's enormous.
If they launch functional non-invasive glucose sensing, it instantly transforms the Watch Ultra from a fitness gadget into a legitimate medical device. It opens up a whole new market.
It's one of those things that just changes the entire value of the product overnight.
Exactly. And it makes that high price tag completely justifiable for millions of people. It's another example of a high-end device validating the whole platform.
So let's wrap this all up. 2026 is really shaping up to be Apple's most strategically complex and maybe divergent year in its history.
We saw three huge shifts. First, the absolute necessity of that LLM-powered Siri using Google Gemini, but protected by the private cloud compute. That's the intelligence that enables everything else.
Second, this really bold move into affordability. The $600 MacBook, the $350 Home Hub, they're strategic weapons to build out this intelligent home and computing grid.
You're buying market share to sell the stickiness of the ecosystem.
And third, the high-risk gamble on two extreme new form factors, the super thin premium iPhone Fold, and then the conceptual leap of the screenless, AI-driven smart glasses.
And both of them depend entirely on that central AI layer we started with.
So here's the final thought for you to chew on. Apple's 2026 strategy isn't really about selling the next flagship phone. It's about selling infrastructure. If they can successfully use budget hardware like that cheap MacBook to pull millions of new customers into this sophisticated AI and home ecosystem, what does that make the $2,500 flagship phone? Is it just a prestige project? A proof of concept?
Or is it proof that once they've got you locked into their grid, they can charge whatever price they want because leaving is just, it's too difficult.
But the whole thing rests on one big if.
The whole thing. The underlying risk is undeniable. The success of the entire strategy hinges on that intelligence layer. So what happens if that crucial LLM-powered Siri, which was already delayed, once gets delayed again?
That is something to think about as you watch these radically different products start to roll out over the next few years. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.